marriage, family, faith, motherhood, and everything in between. Yes, we are Christians, but we also go through just like everyone else. Come with us on this journey of the moments that shake us and the moments that make us. This is Real Christian Wives.
Hey.
So, what's up?
I keep looking down. I have this camera. I gotta remember I gotta look here, or I'm gonna look like I'm looking down the entire time. Yeah. Doing something new because you had our set looking crazy. You know, y'all get on looking like y'all Maury. So we had to upgrade.
Don't say Maury. You could have said like Geraldo or something.
Wow.
You could have said Oprah.
Maury though.
I mean, she said Geraldo. I don't even know what goes on in Geraldo. Like, what was he about? Like, I don't even know.
I don't know. I remember my grandma used to watch it, and then I woke up from a nap one day. He got punched in the nose, and I didn't see the show.
That's the last I know of him. Too.
I was like, he's bleeding. It was on TV, and that was it.
Oh no, I don't remember that. I don't remember that. Y'all tell it on yourself. I remember Jenny Jones and Ricky Lake. That was it. I don't remember Geraldo.
Yeah,
not that. But how y'all been? It's been a minute since the boo's been on. I think the thing is in the bed.
You may speak. You may speak, boo.
Acting up already. We just got on. Look. Don't hit her on TV, Reese. Wait till we go off. Don't boop her yet.
I've been all right though. We've been all right. We've been in a good space, so I can't complain.
But how are you though?
I'm out here trying to make it, man.
It's life. He said it's life.
I'm trying to make it.
Oh Lord.
You ain't the only one. Our furnace. What, Steve? What is going on? Our furnace. Child, we going through heating issues. It's a lot. So everybody making it, but we blessed, and I ain't gonna complain because I got a house to be in, right? But all right. So wait, we gotta pray first before we get into it, right? All right, come on.
Wait, we didn't even check on Steve. How you just gonna skip?
Oh, that's right.
Skip my dude like that.
My bad, Steve. How you been? Look, they both.
I've been doing good, y'all. Been really well since the brunch at Shay's.
Oh yeah.
Really good. Had some good breakthroughs there, Been all right, trying to lean into my new,
That's good.
All those fancy words.
So. Yeah, you ain't gotta make it deep.
Doing that, chilling.
Yo, Reese gonna take you up. You always talking. I can see this window. You always I feel the same way, Reese. I tell her all the time. Anywho, now that we checked on everybody, you gonna pray? Come on, you got in and out. What you doing?
I'm out.
You out. All right, I'm in. All right. Dear Father, Lord, we come just thanking you and honoring you, oh God, for allowing us to see another day, Lord, for allowing us to continue on with this platform, doing what you've called us to do, Lord. We just ask that you hide us and use us, Father, speak through us, your word and whatever message you want to get out there, Lord. Just use us how you want to, oh God. In Jesus' name, A to the man. Amen. All right, let's cover some announcements. Okay, so this is happening Friday. Wait, not that. Here we go. That's happening Friday.
Here we go. I don't know a beat, boo. Hit a beat. Hit. All right.
You was irking him.
I know. He got relaxed.
So Revival Nights is happening Friday at House of Glory, 5245. Get in the building. It's going to be awesome. Shay, you going?
I am.
I ain't gonna lie, I wasn't going to go, but then I got told I had to go, so I'm gonna be in the building. You know my gas.
Well, who told you had to go?
Nakai Color. I'm snitching and stuff. They said we had to be there.
Well, first of all, I'm gonna tell them not to tell you no more, so you can miss it, and then you gonna wish you was there.
See, Reese, I'm about to kick her off too. I'm about to kick her off.
what's up?
You about to get rolled on. So yeah, House of Glory Philly revival nights get there this Friday. As Apostle says, we don't reserve seats, we don't do registration. You get there, you get there. Get there on time. All right.
All right.
All right. So not last week, the week before last, Elder Kachava was on about her new book, Through the Eyes of a Child. And we talked about childhood trauma and just how it affects you as an individual. And right at the end of that, we started going into how could childhood trauma affect you in marriage, which it does. And so this week, this is what we're going to talk about. So give a round of applause for Elder Kachava and her husband, Elder Donald, or I got to ask him what he prefer to be called. We're going to ask him. All right, here we go. All right. I'm messing up you. Well, what we going to call? Are you Elder Donald?
Yes, ma'am.
Elder Donald. All right. I know it says the Reverend.
I'm excited already.
Darrell is the legal name, but we go by Donald.
Okay, Donald. All right. I
Yeah.
knew because I was like, wait, I want to call him Elder Donald, but
Mm-hmm.
the name on the things is there, so I ain't want to, I had to make sure it was all good.
Well, the way this light set up in my face, I ain't gonna tell you what I see. So, and somebody that messed my name up last week, so I won't even do it to you.
Listen, well, Elder Nashe. Right, Elder Nashe. But welcome back. We
Thank you.
joining us. We appreciate. Let me turn off my phone. I'm acting up today. See, it's Shay. She throwing me off. I'm blaming her. We are ecstatic and happy that you joined us, especially you got your husband with you.
Yeah.
Along with you. The act up. Husbands be acting up. They be acting up.
Yeah. I understand.
Yeah. So you brought him along to act up too. But all right, we're gonna dive right into this. So we talked about your book.
Mm-hmm.
And just a quick recap, because y'all should have went back last week and watched the show like I told y'all to. We talked about the book. We talked about episodes in the book where you faced a lot of childhood trauma with your dad kind of being an absentee dad, with your mom being abused, and you watched all that. You becoming like the second mother, and just how it affected you growing up. And so this week we're going to talk about what happens when your childhood trauma shows up in your marriage. Go ahead, I see you. Go ahead.
So, backtracking on the last episode, there's a piece now when I listened to it, didn't realize I kept using the word beating. Mm-hmm. Well, there were times where it was beating, and then there was time where there was fighting. And the difference between the beating is you never had a chance to really, how they say, if you're in a fight, did you at least pinch the person? Mm-hmm. Or, there are times where in the abuse, there was a beating where you never got a chance to hit back. Mm-hmm. But then the parts where they were fighting was, it is actually, we're going to fight this out like that. So, so it was beating and it was fighting.
Oh, I know all about that. I was nothing but before I got with Steve. I was fist fighting people. It get like that sometimes. I ain't gonna lie. It get like that. But so
I'm not gonna say
don't do it.
I just did the run. Like, he's crazy. But yeah.
Hold on, talk about that.
Did the running.
You said, was it me? I don't remember.
He was going to deny it. I plead the fifth.
He said, leave him alone. So yeah, all right. So childhood trauma showing up in your marriage. Did y'all experience that? Like, did the overflow of what you saw growing up with your mom and your dad, and just your experience with your father, did it show up in your marriage negatively?
Yes, it did. At the beginning, it really did. When you're new to marriage and everything, and of course, the white picket fence, lies, and more lies. More like no fence. Different color fence, leaning fence, hanging fence, or again, just no fence at all. So it was coming into the marriage warped minded, thinking one thing, but it's really another, or thinking another when it's really this. So it was like a lot of vice versa, this way, vice versa. So it was crazy at the beginning. Because like they say, marriage, you're coming in your way. he's coming in his way, and you trying to blend that together. And that's hilarious. Like,
It is.
it's hilarious.
It is.
I think that, like, just while you were talking, and I knew Holy Spirit was going to set the tone through you guys. But just while you were talking, I can hear the Holy Spirit just showing me how so many people are in just toxic relationships, period. And then they think that when you enter into this marriage, like once you say I do, once you get married, that everything changes and it turns into Disneyland, and then the fence shows up and it's gold and he's nicer now and you're nicer now and everything changes. But that's not it at all.
Not even close.
Nowhere near close. And actually, it really gets worse.
Yeah. Marriage is a mirror.
We went to a wedding like a couple months ago. I think it was in the spring. And it was funny because that was a couple that I knew they weren't in church. Like I knew they weren't really in the Lord. And their wedding was huge. Wow. And they had so many people in there. And I can just see, like, look at all these people that I know that's not going to be here later on. Look at all these people that you're going to have to disconnect from, that sit here and saying all these vows, like, I'll be there and I was here with you all your life. And they're entering into something that's going to change them, that's going to really bring up all of that stuff even the more. And the people that say they're going to be there aren't going to be there.
Yeah. And I think also with it, I think I'm going to put a little emphasis on the church and marriage too, because I know I said this before, that I feel like as women growing up in church, they tell you you were supposed to want to get married, but nobody tells you how to be married.
Yeah.
That's good.
You know, like, it's like, yeah, that's your husband. You bid him good, go. And then you're like what do I do now? Like, you know, and it's not a level of transparency, because growing up in the church I grew up in, a lot of people were married and a lot of people like had a bunch of kids, like, you know, like a bunch of kids, didn't believe in birth control, just popping out babies. God bless them. But like, you know, that's what you saw. But, you know, it was never like a moment of transparency where you saw that, you know, that when they talked about in marriage, it never was like, you know, you're going to go through things, like, you know, you got to persevere, you got to press, you got to communicate, you got to talk. It was just always this romanticizing of marriage. And so you go into it thinking it's, you know, this Disney movie, and that, you know, you're just going to instantly become one and everybody's going to get along and everything is so easy. Then you get there and it's like, this is not it. Like, what happened? I thought we supposed to, you know, the birds supposed to be chirping and, you know, we singing songs and dancing in the rain and stuff, you know, like the movie.
Right, it's opera now.
Yeah, like, wait a minute. And so I think I think we have to teach young women and young men that, yeah, you know, get married, but this is what marriage is. It's not a walk in the park. It's hard. Like, it's hard work and it's constant work. It's never, I think I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, it took me 25 years to find out who Sharice was, right? It took Steve 25 years to find out who he was. Then we get married. I have to learn 25 years of what it took him to get. He got to learn my 25 years while we still continually growing, you know, every day and changing. I was
and becoming.
Yeah, like, it's a constant leveling up. There's never an end game. Like, people think it's the end game, like, all right, now we're good. No, like, it's an always constantly growing thing.
Right.
And I think, like, you know, as long as people think, you know, marriage and love with the thought of marriage, not what marriage actually is.
That's it. That's really what it is.
Yeah, you in love with the ring and the dress and the whole big thing.
Yeah.
And then when all that's over and you left with each other, it's like,
what is this?
Or you can't even fit that dress no more. You
like, you know, that ain't what it's about. So
absolutely.
But yeah, it's not. And so, you know, you start learning that some of the things that you suffer from growing up, you know, some of the things you dealt with come out. Like Steve was joking every day. He was when I said at the end of the show, I was like, Steve will tell you all about my triggers. I got a lot of them. Like I do, and I love my husband because he just lets me have it and be like, okay, you know, I got you, I understand, you know, and it's a lot. Like, I got a problem. I don't like people cursing at me. And you don't have to curse at me. I don't like you cursing while we're having a conversation. Like if we're in the middle of an argument, I don't like curse words in it. And it's not like I'm not trying to control you. It's just growing up, my father was very verbally abusive. He would always curse at my mom. And so that affects me. So it makes me want to go to 10, where a conversation can remain at 5. As soon as I hear a curse word, I want to go to 10, like to defend myself. And so that was like a trigger for me. And I remember him, well, I let him say how you feel. They didn't got silent Bob on us now. We didn't start rambling. How did you feel when I told you that I didn't want you cursing?
To be honest, a lot of it, I've never dealt with quote unquote triggers before. I never knew what that really entailed before. So when she first introduced that vocabulary to me, it felt more controlling than anything. It felt like, oh, everything that I do is a trigger. So I feel like you're trying to control the atmosphere or how something's going. And at that time, it was like, my defense to her was like, if I'm not cursing at you, if I'm cursing out of frustration or something like that, I didn't see what the issue was. And it took a long time until I got to a point where I was like, oh, the trigger is another code word for something that hurt you or trauma. Yeah. And this inflicts or this recalls me cursing at you, even if it's indirectly or even if it's like, curse word, this thing happened, if it's in the scope of our conversation, that can bring back trauma that has nothing to do with me. Right. I should be aware of that and I should be mindful of that. And it just took some time to learn what those things were.
Real life. Real life. So what are some of your triggers? And I know women aren't the only one with triggers, Guys y'all definitely got some triggers too. 100%. One of Steve's triggers when we were dating, because of my vocabulary, like growing up in the hood, hanging around a bunch of guys, when he would do something, and it didn't have to be nothing crazy, I would be like, yo, you girling. Like that's my thing, like, yo, stop girling. And he had to sit me down one day. He was like, stop telling me I'm girling, because it was a trigger from him. Like he took that very as disrespect. But in my mind, I'm like, I was just joking. Like, what's the big deal? And so y'all got y'all triggers too. What's like show up? Come on, y'all talk about it. What's some of the stuff that goes on that comes up that you had to be like, all right, let me have this conversation.
Well, for me and my family, us women, the Hawkins women, we are demanding, we are firm. And we don't, and I know this is gonna sound crazy, we don't talk to our husbands right all the time. I mean, like we don't. Like my husband may say, like, what was it earlier today? I said, honey, did you do such and such? And when I asked the question, I'm like, come with the quick answer. And I said, I know you heard me. He was like, who are you talking to? I'm like, dude, like, I know you heard me. So it was brought to my attention earlier today with my sister and I was talking, and she was like, my husband said that we are really rude to our husbands and stuff. Like, we talk so hard at the men, and God forbid they step to us the same way. We're like, oh, you must have lost your mind. And I was like, I don't talk like that. And I was just looking and listening. I'm like, oh my God, I'm boiling. I'm ready to lash at him. Like, ooh, I'm straight tripping. And his code word is, that's how I know the argument is over. I'm gonna let a fool act a fool by themselves. And I'll be just arguing, and he done tuned out doing something else. And now I'm really mad because I want you to argue with me and you won't. And that's been since day one, from dating all the way up to this point. No, let a fool act a fool by themselves. When the fool is tired, they'll come back in, right.
Yeah. Right. It's crazy. Don't write that down. He told us I'm gonna write that down. Don't do that.
Yeah. What you say, honey?
I'm not a confrontational person. I let you have your say. After that, that's it. I mean, you're gonna get tired because you're gonna get tired talking to yourself. So, and as long as I don't get a response, because that's what you're looking for. Mm-hmm. That's what you're gonna feed off of. So if I don't give it, you'll get tired.
Yeah. And then we're not allowed to play fight. You know how everybody do that lovey-dovey play fight? We can't play fight because
what you do?
No. We can't play fight because what I experienced as a child growing up, the fights, the beatings,
Oh, yeah.
seeing what happened to my mom, but then when I go to my dad's house, seeing what goes on over there. And so now, mind you, we love SmackDown, WrestleMania, I mean, all of that, but we physically can do, like now the occasional tap on the butt, okay, but you know how when you just rough playing. And we tried that one day, and I'm like, wait a minute, you hit me too hard. Like, are we fighting? Shoot, I'm running to the kitchen to get a knife. Wait, what are you doing? I said, I mean, is this gonna be a fight? Because I'm ready. And so we realized, no,
that's not for y'all.
we can't do fight because that's not what any of that was. So still to this day, we can watch wrestling, but we cannot play wrestle at all.
No, don't do that. She said she was gonna pull the knife out on
that's a trigger. So yeah,
that's a trigger.
Yeah, like, hey, forget that hidden stuff. I'm gonna go get that knife in this now. So yeah, and you're like, what are you doing? So
Reese, what's your trigger? I know she be pushing your buttons. I know. Go ahead, bring her out.
I mean, my trigger is like, I guess the way she talk to me when maybe it's a little heated or a disagreement or whatever, she'll try to talk to me like, not saying I'm a woman, but she'll talk to me as if she can beat me. And, I'm just like, well, no abuse or anything, but I'm like, well, why are you talking to me like that? And seeing, the way my grandma and my great grandma talk to, they husbands, I'm like, well, is this normal? Or is this like, the way she's supposed to be talking to me? But my grandma, it's like, okay, they getting what they want. It's like, all right, well, you talking to my grandpa like this and he's still doing X, Y, and Z. And it's just like, okay, well, do he feel away? And then like, so I try to, how can I say it? I try to like meet her halfway and then she'll turn it up. And I turn the music up in the car while she's talking. I'm talking and like, that's a trigger. Like, come on, stop talking
that's
to me.
That's my trigger.
I'm like,
I feel you.
He said, yep. That's it.
He said, I feel it. But for me, the trigger is being ignored. Like, so it's like you hitting it and we're bouncing off each other. Like, if I feel like I'm being ignored, I'm definitely turning it up. Because that's a sign of disrespect. Like, and that means you're not trying to hear me. And most of the time, I feel like it's always been misinterpreted. So if I said something, he might have already put the guard up, like, boop, 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 boop. Wait a minute, we're not doing that. I'm like, wait, I wasn't even trying to fight.
right.
I wasn't trying to fight. I was just trying to voice something. But the fact that you shut me down, now I'm mad. Now I'm getting loud. It was that. And I'm like, but I've learned that too, like, you still don't hear me. Like he said, like a fool had act a fool by himself. But I wasn't a fool when I started. I really was just trying to voice my
That's good. I like
I wasn't a fool when I started. And I feel like that all boils down to us. And I always give this advice to everybody, especially in marriages, hit the reset button. It's like, okay, if we hit the reset button, even if it seems familiar when I'm speaking, it may not been what you're used to, So if I started off as, hey, just anything, like, did you remember what I told you earlier? And it can sound like, oh, here you go. But I was really just asking, hey, do you remember what I said to you earlier? But the oh, here you go hit me back like, oh, so you're not listening to me? So now it goes up more. Did he, like you said, turn the music up or do something trying to ignore me? And the fact that I'm feeling ignored, I'm mad now. You made me mad. So now I'm trying to make you mad. Like you made me. But we haven't had one of those in a while.
knock on wood.
So I know it sounds crazy.
No, let me say this, because and just bringing it to childhood trauma, most of the time the kids is in the back of the car while we acting like this, right? They're in the back of the car, like, look at them. Like we look like little kids to them. He's turning the music up and then I'm hitting the button off. And then he turning it back up on the steering wheel and I'm turning it off again.
Y'all about to break the
When
money.
one of us get out of the car, they'll see us after school like, y'all was tripping this morning. I said, like, y'all was blowing me. That's what he said. You and Dad. doing too much this morning. I'm like, I didn't think about that, son. Especially on your way to school, you probably was thinking about this all day. What's wrong with them? I'm like, we good. Like, we're good. So definitely that. But on a positive note, for childhood, for him, I want to say that I've seen that has been our anchor is from my childhood trauma, because I didn't really have stability where my family was like always together. Like my mom had different relationships and things. So to me, if something didn't go right, I'm like, oh, well, yeah, it must be over. It's time to go. It's time to go. It's time to go. Mm-hmm. But for him, having that stability with his family, especially his grandparents, raising him, it was like, no, we in this. Like, there's no way out, no matter what. We're sticking it out. And to me, it was like, I just can't get you, like, shake you, because that was me trying to run, but not understanding the foundation that God was, that God is doing, and understanding the foundation that was already on the inside of him. Right. And for him being that anchor, that was a positive note for me, because it was something that it was always modeled before him. Like, no matter what, he said, even if his grandparents slept in separate rooms, like, they still together. Like, if that's what we had to do, but we're still together. Like, that's what it is. Like, this not an option. So I'm grateful for that. Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, at least you get to sleep in the other room. I tried that one time with Steve. He was like, where you going? you better go in the other room and breathe a little bit, but you coming back in here.
I think we tried that one night, trying to sleep in the other room. And it was so funny because we both got up at the same time, and the rooms was at different hallways, and we kind of opened the door. We both had our pillows and our blankets, like, oh, you can't sleep?
Well, I went a step further than that. I was mad and I left the house, but I didn't pack a bag or nothing. I just left the house. And I was like, oh, where am I going to go? And I was mad. So we didn't, what happened? We were really mad, but we're not speaking. So I just walked out the house. So to him, he was like, okay, she's going to go to the store. Left the house. It was daylight. I didn't come back till the next day when I got off of work.
Oh, wow.
And I went to my sister's house and I was like, oh, I'm here to see my niece. She's now 17. So, she was the only grandchild, only niece to be had and everything until the others came. So I'm over there, and it didn't bother my sister then, because they knew I would come over there periodically, kick with my niece, put her to sleep, and then I would leave. But this time I just fell asleep with her. And so my sister was like, she's snoring hard. I'm not going to mess with her. Her husband know where she is. No, he did not. So I got up and I came home because I knew he was going to work. I came home, freshened up, got dressed for work, went to work, worked real good, but I kept watching the clock. I'm like, okay, he ain't called me. I said, okay, that's how it's gonna be. He ain't called. And then right when I was getting off work, he called, and no, I take that back. He called me that morning and he said, and I'm like, I ain't answering nothing. I think about to answer, just make sure everything okay. I said, hello. And he was like, where were you? I'm like, well, good morning to you too. And he was like, no, where were you? I said, obviously I wasn't home. Don't play them games with me. Because see, that's not how we do things. You don't leave the house and don't say nothing. You stay at the house. I don't play that. I don't care what we mad about. You don't leave and don't come back. You don't do that. Oh, man. And on the other side, I was like, I was like, baby, he's really mad. So when I got to the house, I'm like, okay, don't walk in the house laughing. Whatever you do, don't do that, because it's not going to go over well. So I just walked in the house and I played it cool, like nonchalant. And he was like, no, for real, sit down. So we finna talk this. You can't use the D word, which is, if you ain't married then. And then we can't use the S word where and you sure can't leave the house. So I said, well, shoot, we just got to stay married to my exactly. Work this out, because I'm not sleeping in this house alone like that no more. And don't pull that stunt and leave the house no more. And I have not pulled that stunt again. Now, I may go to the living room, and then when I come to the living room, I'm like, dang, I want to sit back in the bed. But I'm trying to make a point. And he's snoring hard. Oh, I'm mad now. I want to sleep. Yeah, like you wake up too. Man, I'm not going to go through this. Look, what is your problem? I don't know yet. And I just go around the house. He's talking like, you got to be at work in a few minutes. I'm going to bed. And I'm like, man, this ain't working. But it's from seeing the different things that happen. Now, mind you, not saying like, oh, I thought you was over everything that happened growing up. Yes, but there's still certain things that are still there, not like what it used to be, but there's still, certain things. And it's like when you want to argue, like when you watch on TV, they argue and it's a good argument, and then the other spouse come in talking, they rub the face and all that Hallmark crap. No,
that's on TV. I be looking forward to those though.
Yeah.
It don't work.
It don't. Like in your head, you're like, okay, it's gonna go this way. Like, wait, it's not. And you're like, man, forget it. Scrap this.
And that's what he say to me. He say, just because it doesn't happen the way you think it's supposed to happen, don't mean that it's not right. I'm like, but I thought that this is supposed to say, you're supposed to say this. He's like, no, I'm not gonna say what you want me to say. I'm like,
that, yeah.
It's so disrespectful. I feel like if I like
he said yes.
Steven was the one time I would do something or say something, and then I'll go back and I would apologize, and he would still be mad. I'd be like, I said sorry. Like, why are you still mad? He's like, because you think you said sorry that my emotions supposed to instantly change. Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I said sorry. Like, everything's better now. Like, no, everything is not better now. So yeah, I think definitely you gotta, and I think the key to that is definitely identifying what actually are like your triggers or your trauma.
Yeah.
And being able to communicate that with your spouse. And so if Steve has an understanding that irritates me, him loving me enough to say, you know what, I'm going to try not to do that because I know, that that's something that you have an issue with, and vice versa. Me telling Steve to stop girling, that left my vocabulary. Along with some other stuff that he might not even say are his triggers, but we as married couples know what piss the other person off.
Absolutely.
Like, we absolutely know. Even if they don't tell us, we know what pisses them off. In the beginning, we push them buttons on purpose. Like, oh, I'm mad. Oh, yeah, you finna be mad too. Like, Steve hates when my head turns sideways when I talk to him. In the beginning of marriage, my head was like this all the time. Like, and it pisses him off. Like, he's like, fix. Like, in the middle of conversation, he'd be like, fix your head. Like, for whatever reason, my head turned sideways.
The van.
So it's just, like knowing what you and be able to communicate that, like not yelling or in the middle of an argument to say, hey, when you do this makes me feel, some type of way, A, B, C, D, F, G, whatever it is, and to try to have the mindfulness to try to change that because you love the person. And it doesn't always go, according to plan the first time, that I say it, I make a mistake, I apologize, I forgot, or, but just to have the concern and the love for the person, say, I'm really going to make this effort not to push your buttons because I know how to push your buttons. And that provides growth. But that first, it starts with identifying what your trauma is. Because I'm going to be honest, for a long time, I'll be walking around feeling things and couldn't put a finger on it. Yeah. Like, why am I mad right? Like, it wasn't that big. So why do I feel like it's this big over something that was this big? Yeah, and it's like if you're in situations like that as a married person, you gotta roll back and look and try to figure out where is this coming from for real. Exactly. You just said something that's not why you hurt. Like, you gotta go back. Sister Doreen, who's a advisor on the board at House of Glory Philly, I talk to her sometimes. I know Sister Doreen, we both did. She was at the church we grew up in together, and I was talking to her about something happened. I don't remember what it was, and she's like, "It sounds like Steve is a leaf on the twig, on the branch, on a tree with the roots." Deeper than him. I think he's just like, he's a leaf on this tree, and you got to go, to the roots of the tree. And she's like, I think this goes back to, your father. And this is why, and I had to really do some introspection. Like, I think she's right. I'm not mad at him because I'm mad because this brought back, this memory or this feeling of disappointment or this feeling of, being taken advantage of. And so it's just really, like I said, understanding what your traumas is and dealing with them, and not projecting them on your spouse. Like, I don't want to control Steve, but it's just like, I'm working on it, to actively work on your triggers. Not to say this triggers me, don't do that, but it's like actively working on it. So maybe one day it's not so triggering.
Yeah. And that's good. Go ahead.
Shay.
Oh no, I was saying that was good.
Oh.
No, yeah. We were saying the same thing.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I was saying that was good. I think that for us, I always say we've been together so long. We have been together for a long time, but sometimes it took us years to find out like it was triggers. For me, I would be in my prayer closet like, what is wrong? Like I didn't understand what would be wrong until God had to really start breaking things down for us in trauma for both of us. Because in my mind, you don't think to think back to when you're a child. You don't think that. You don't think to look back and be like, okay, when I was little, because this and this and this and that, because you feel, I know for some of us, for most of us, if you didn't have like the perfect or a healthy childhood, you think once I'm out of it, I escape from that. You know, like I escaped from this and now I'm starting my life. But then when you get into your marriage, it seems like all of that is still needs to be dealt. It still needs to be dealt with. And then sometimes when it's just you, you think it's just you, but you don't understand what's coming from the other person as well. For years, I think that not understanding that it was trauma and that something that might have triggered him, we could be in an argument and I'll say, just, you know how you say something just because you know it's going to make the other person mad?
Yeah.
And now I realize, like, wow, devil, you really had me. Like, you fooled me. And having that understanding of the enemy who comes to steal, kill, and destroy, how he can take our trauma and try to divide us. He can take our trauma and bring, you know, just so many, drop so many things. Like I think he said something the other day, like, oh, I had a bad dream. And then he was carrying a dream around like for the whole 2 days. I'm like, why are you mad? Why are you mad? But it was something that was planted a seed from the enemy. Gotcha. And he didn't know how to deal, he didn't know how to deal with it or didn't understand, like, okay, well, this is from the enemy. Let me change this. And then for me, understanding that he might have been going through something, not feeding into whatever he was going through, that whole time. So just like I said, even being in this place now, understanding it is like Steve was saying, it's not that you're controlling the situation. It's not that you're controlling the relationship, but as me being your helpmate, how do I, first of all, just meet your needs in that area? How do I get us through it where it no longer becomes a trigger, but we work through those things? So even if you are triggered, that you're strong enough to get through it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm more hypothetical. I have more compassion on what's going on. Even if you may be triggered by something that's not me, it could just be an environment. We could be in an environment and something can happen. I'm like, okay, you know what? Are you ready to go? How are you? Instead of getting an attitude like, Dad, you always want to leave. Oh, what's going on with you? You can't. But me understanding, okay, this is uncomfortable for you. Whatever it is, right? Whatever it is. So, yeah, that's good. That's good. I think it also puts us in a level of maturity.
Yeah.
A level of maturity to understand, like, it's because I love you. It's because I love you. It's because I'm called to you. It's because God has anointed me for you.
What's your bottom line?
Yeah. God has anointed me for you, and you for me.
For you.
Yeah.
Yep. See?
That's good.
God put it on my heart. He said, addressing childhood trauma in marriages is breaking generational curses.
Yes.
And that's what you're doing, for real. You're breaking generational curses so your kids won't have to grow up with the same traumas you grew up with and act out the same way you acted out, or how it goes. Like,
it's not just breaking it, but it's actually pulling it up from the root so it has nothing else to grow.
Right.
So like, they say cutting the dead split ends, but it still can grow. So you're plucking it up from the root and then not casting it out back to hell, but to a dry and thirsty land that it has to shrivel up and die because it stopped right there and it cannot continue. Now, if it continues, that means somebody has turned around and replanted for what God awful reason I don't understand. But yeah.
And then sometimes your triggers or your trauma isn't even an angry thing or a lash out thing. Steve was talking to me today. We were out at the mall and he was yelling at me because he was like, I forgot what we were talking about, but somehow it turned into him yelling at me. Not now, just to preface it, when I say Steve yells at me, Steve doesn't yell like at all. When I say he's yelling at me, it means his voice literally went up an octave. And I'd be like, why are you yelling at me? Like I do it all the time. And he'll be like, he's not yelling. He is yelling.
That's Elder D.
This is his yelling.
Yeah.
He yells.
You know, when Reese hit that boo from long distance, you feel it in your chest.
I
like,
can't wait till he start preaching. I'm telling you, he going to slay some demons. All right.
Amen.
I could just whisper and she'll say I'm yelling at her.
Exactly. Y'all be yelling all in your voice.
Yeah. like it went deep. Like
yeah, it's different.
Like,
I think it's the wider they open their mouth and the face expressions. Like,
yeah. Now, he always say I have bad facial expressions. His face, and he doesn't hide. I'm like, dude, can you at least like every time I ain't acting like nothing? I'm like, and now sidebar. That's what I don't like is because when people see your marriage, oh y'all listen to this. No, quit saying that because we do have arguments. We don't always get along, but everybody put you on this pedestal that the day that you have an argument, oh my God, something's wrong in that marriage. How about you shut up? Yes, we're human. We're just having an argument or a heated conversation.
right.
And that's it. And I hear the conversation, especially when it's a good one. Like, I mean, they be kind of funny for real. It be so heated. And you're like, wait, what are we talking about? you don't remember? I lost all focus on. I forgot. So I like it when you can just be a couple, and have a basic argument without people like, oh, they got issues going on.
Right.
You get that from because of an argument. Don't you argue when you with your boo that you dating? No different. It's just an argument. Now you know the difference when different triggers come. But like you said, if you love each other enough the way you say you do, you'll protect that person by not hitting those triggers. And if a trigger does pop up, instead of being childish, you're the mature one. Mm-hmm. Hey, wait a minute. Let's fix it. So yeah.
And see, 20 going on 21 years. I mean, we couldn't remember like big arguments, recently, whatever, because we haven't had any. Yeah, as we've gotten older, as our marriage has progressed,
get tired of
the arguments seem to just decline to the point where it's almost like a 2-minute session.
Yeah,
and we forget about what we talked about. To the point where in the beginning it was we were throwing shoes and stuff.
Yes, I was. I was a baseball and I wasn't missing.
Slam boards. And,
yes, I was.
I was. I'm trying to understand what's going on. But now,
oh, poor Elder. What you?
I was.
Oh, it was rough. But like I said, going on 21 years now, you don't even think about that because we've never had any big disagreements or big arguments. Like, because I even told her at one time, I'm like, when was the last time we argued?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. You want one? Because
it's been that long.
I love it.
We have disagreements,
right?
I mean,
and we've come to learn a lot about each other.
Yeah, that's it.
He's definitely not confrontational still to this day. Don't try it because he will walk off from you, and that's it. Or will just straight shut down like you do not exist. You're like, hello.
And see, I've learned in that can be a blessing as well as a curse. Being passive aggressive, it's not always good. So there's some things that I had to tweak. In my approach. There are times where I had to be aggressive. She had to see that. And then there are times where I just lean back
and let me have my way. And then we got our bus swoop because he let me have my way because those were the times. No. Like Apostle Henderson told him, look, don't be a yes man. Please don't be a yes man. You have said yes to her all the way up through you all dating, your courtship, your engagement. She needs to hear you say no. She gonna hate it, but she needs to. That day he told me no. What? And then he like, oh, that feel good. No. And now you can stop now. No.
That felt good.
Yeah, it felt too good.
Look,
So,
I don't touch and agree with that word. I do not touch and agree with that word.
hey, but it helped me with my boundaries.
I had a few no seasons. I'm happy about my yes transition. Okay. So I'm gonna walk.
It's like a nice little balance and everything. But I remember my grandfather growing up, my grandmother, God rest her soul, that woman could cook. And she made eggs, and the eggs were just, I've never had fluffy eggs. And my granddad would sit at the kitchen table and he would say, girls, to keep your husband, you got to learn how to make fluffy eggs. Well, I was not the cook in the family that all them grandkids. I'm like, well, shoot, he got to love me for me because I don't know how to make no eggs. My sisters, my baby sister, got rest her soul. That sister girl can cook. My middle sister, she can cook. Everybody know how to make fluffy eggs. I would get in that kitchen with that butter, with that cast iron skillet. I would do everything right. When it comes to the eggs, I'm like, she forget that. Those eggs are hard. And I'm like, y'all better eat up. Talking about, okay, then talking about, talking about Donna. She got to get the fluffy eggs right. And to me, you can call it a childhood trauma because I was like, I'm gonna let them know, baby, I don't know how to make eggs. And you know what he told me? I don't really eat eggs no way.
Come on.
Good. Like, thanks, Lord. I ain't got to. And still to this day, I do not know how to make fluffy eggs. And still to this day, you may have eaten eggs. I mean, out of 21 years, maybe 4 or 5 times. So I don't care. And they eggs.
You don't need high cholesterol, no way. You be all right.
Exactly. So I'm like, so I told my granddad, I said, hey, he said, y'all making it with no fluffy eggs. No, sir, no freaking fluffy eggs over here. Like, no.
But that goes back to appreciating each other's, strengths and weeknesses.
Yeah, that's good.
If she has a certain skill set, I have a certain skill set.
The brother can bake.
But you got to embrace it. You got to, appreciate it, because like I say, there are a lot of things that, she don't like that, I do that I'm good at, that she said, oh, you just trying to show up. I'm with her.
I can cook. Everything on high and walk out. That's my form of cooking. The brother man got everything laid out. No, man, come on, just speed it up. Yeah. Because I want it quick and fast versus enjoying the process of everything. So I'm learning. 21 years, I've learned how to slow down.
And enjoy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you got to learn, like, when you see, like I said from the book, when you see the trauma that you've gone through, it's your choice to continue the trauma because you become accustomed to it and not realizing there is a better way and another way. But like you said, once you begin to focus on God and do it His way, you be like, ooh, like I said, they say that's a world of trouble right there. Wait a minute. Yeah. I'm liking this. And then you begin to grow from that. Then you can begin to help each other from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, final thoughts. We about to wrap it up. No, final thoughts.
What's I saying? We got so many of them. What's I saying?
Well, we got to. We were in a candy store one day, and we came across this placard.
Oh yeah.
And it had these little puppies on it. And the sign said, we may not have it all together, but together we have it all.
Yeah, we may not have it all, but together we have it all.
That's awesome.
And I love that. And when I'm I think about that when, something happens, or even when we get to our little spots or whatever, I think about that slogan, because in the 21 years that God has allowed in this marriage, I think about all the things that we've done together, a lot of the things that we've come in agreement about, and I look back, that's all God.
Yeah.
That's all God. Mm-hmm. Even as she was writing the book, I stayed in my lane, she stayed in her lane. But I read the book one time. And when I closed the book, I said, there's not enough words in this book to really describe, what the journey that she went through and that I went through with her.
Yeah.
Because I even told her this book should have been bigger than what it is.
And that's that.
Because trust me, I mean, on this journey, we've seen a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We've been through a lot.
Yeah.
He has brought us through a lot.
Oh,
Amen.
thank you, Lord.
Through all the traumas, even through my traumas.
Yeah.
So me reading that book that one time and just closing it and just thinking about, the journey that we been through together. We did it together.
Yeah.
Even though we didn't have it all together. We did it together.
Yes, we have. Amen.
So that's just my thought.
That's a good thought.
Just did it together.
Well, it's time for part 2 then for the marriage.
Uh-oh.
Together.
Marriage part 2.
Listen, I prophesy it's going to be a bestseller. In the name of Jesus.
I received it. Oh, you talking about the marriage book? It's already titled "Signed, Sealed, Delivered."
Come on.
It's already half written.
Listen.
There you go.
Well, Elder, he got to put his part in there too.
Oh,
How they have,
yeah, it's in there together.
Power praying wife, power praying husband.
Yes, we have it.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
I already see it in the spirit.
Yes, ma'am. And that's another thing. Definitely pray over each other. Like,
Yeah.
take naps and sleep. And we women are mainly up. Get that all.
Amen. Yep.
I mean, they're not that. They have no, and it's not like they're sleeping. Like, the harder you pray, the harder they snore. But I'm just saying. And but yeah, definitely praying over them. And then like what we do in the mornings and then in the evening times, we'll anoint each other before we walk out the door. And like
That's
if
awesome.
you are moving too slow, then I'm gonna anoint myself, and you make sure you anoint yourself before you're going out the door.
We used to do
Just
that.
the head, the hands, and the underneath the feet.
Yeah,
and
we
over
used
the
to
heart.
do that.
Walk out the
We
door.
haven't done that in a while. Message.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you do the same thing in the evening time. So, and don't get me wrong, you start like, oh yeah, then you're like, oh my God, girl, yeah, you're like, okay,
Just go ahead, man.
yeah, like, oh,
Be
you covered, So, but I found that to be very wisdom like, having the spirit of discernment, because you want your spouse protected while they're out and about from all elements, good and bad, everything. And then not just protecting them, but also where they receive favor. Like we learned Sunday, FOF, favor, obedience, and faith. FOF. And so, because, I think we, as women, we tend to forget we always just cover our husband. Lord, don't let that happen to him. But Lord, thank you for the favor that you have for him. And thank you for him being able to be favoring towards someone. And in the midst of all that, God, just thank you for blessing his socks off his feet. Because I doesn't tell you every day, my question to him, baby, how was work? It was good. Anything interesting happened today? Tell me about the blessing. Nothing. And it was every day for years. And then next you pop up, baby, you won't believe what happened. Baby, you won't believe what happened. Because I'm anticipating that great
demand on it. Okay.
Regardless, good or bad that has happened, I know there's something good that took place in your life for you and for this household. So I'm here. That's what I do.
Bless when you come, bless when you go, bless
That
in the
part.
city, bless in the field. Come on.
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Well, all right, y'all. We wrapping it up. Remember, Elder Kachava's book, available on Amazon and through direct email. Get you a copy. It is amazing. It will bless your life. Don't forget, we also have a contest still going on. That the post is on the page. If you like our Facebook page, share the post, tag 3 people in the flyer. You'll be entered to win an autographed copy of Elder Kachava's book. It is good. Trust me.
Yes.
All right, now. This was nice.
Thank
you guys for joining us.
You guys really blessed us.
Yeah, y'all dropped some.
You gotta send me that word, faith with obedience. It's favor, obedience, and faith.
Favor, obedience, faith.
Yeah, you gotta send me that.
I will.
Yeah, that's gonna be good.
Well, all right. last minute announcements. Remember this Friday revival night, Raise the Glory. It's gonna be awesome. This Friday. Be there, House of Glory. Download the app. It has all the information. All right, y'all. I didn't got a guest host just came and got out of bed, so that means it's time for us to go. My kids about to
Have
start.
an amazing evening, you guys.
Yes, have an amazing evening. We appreciate you guys. All right, worship song of the week, Champion by Bethel and Dante Bowie. Awesome song, y'all. I was all up in this all week long. So have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
You are my champion.